How was your day? Welcome to this podcast, where we delve into why questions using first principle thinking to offer you diverse perspectives on life's various challenges. Join us in this episode to truly embrace a life of spirit and well-being. The past is never dead. In fact, it's not even past. In a certain clinic, a patient named Alex shared that for the past year, he hadn't slept a full night. Before, he was a very sound sleeper. Then one night, right after his 19th birthday, he suddenly woke up at 3:30 a.m., feeling freezing cold, his whole body trembling. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't warm himself up. 3 hours later, beneath several layers of blankets, he was still wide awake. He didn't just feel freezing and exhausted, he also experienced a strange fear he had never encountered before, the fear that if he fell asleep, something terrible would happen. If he drifted off, he would never wake up again. Every time Alex started to doze off, that fear would awaken him. This repeated the next night, and the night after that, exactly the same. Soon, insomnia became a daily torment. Alex knew his fear was utterly irrational, yet he was helpless, unable to find a way to stop it. There was an unusual detail in his description, the sensation of freezing cold, of being frozen. The psychologist began to delve into this detail with him, exploring his family origins. Had anyone on either side of his family suffered a trauma related to cold, falling asleep, or turning 19? Alex revealed that he had only recently heard his mother recount the tragic death of his father's older brother, an uncle he had never known. His uncle was only 19 years old when he froze to death while checking electrical cables during a blizzard. Tracks in the snow showed he had struggled, trying to stay awake. Finally, his body was discovered lying face down in the thick snow, unconscious from hypothermia. His uncle's death was such a deeply painful loss that the entire family never spoke of him again. Now, 3 decades later, Alex was unconsciously reliving certain aspects of his uncle's death, specifically the fear of losing consciousness. For his uncle, falling asleep meant death. Alex must have felt something similar. Understanding this connection was a turning point for Alex. Once he realized that his insomnia originated from an event that occurred 30 years ago, he finally understood why he was afraid of falling asleep. He had never met this uncle, but unconsciously, he had absorbed his uncle's dread as if it were his own. A pain from the past, a past that could not rest. In their quest to explain stories similar to Alex's, scientists have identified biological imprints. Evidence shows that trauma can and indeed is passed down from generation to generation, known as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Those with PTSD re-experience the feelings and emotions associated with a trauma, even if that trauma ended in the past. Symptoms include depression, anxiety, insomnia, nightmares, terrifying thoughts, being easily startled, or always feeling on edge. These are considered unexpected family legacies. A boy might inherit his grandfather's long legs, or a girl might have a nose identical to her mother's, while patient Alex inherited from his uncle the fear that he would never wake up. Deep within them are fragments from traumas so great that one generation couldn't resolve them. When a family member experiences psychological trauma beyond their endurance, or suffers overwhelming grief or guilt, these emotions can escalate to a point where an individual cannot control or resolve them, and they begin to spread to subsequent generations, becoming intergenerational trauma. So, how long will this cycle of trauma continue? Is it possible for later generations to break this loop? The answer is yes. We can absolutely break this loop. How? By returning to the source. Returning to the source to understand the origin of our emotions and behaviors. Returning to the source, to the original self, to understand ourselves better. But which path leads to the source? The answer is home, our family of origin. Now, we not only focus on individual traumas, but also go further, tracing back painful events in family and societal history, viewing them as part of the overall picture of intergenerational trauma. First, we must clarify and name what is hindering us, preventing us from living a full life. After reading the book, It Didn't Start With You, I learned this, a new insight that I believe you will also find truly helpful. There are 4 unconscious tendencies that disrupt the flow of life. These are 4 common tendencies we possess, yet we are unaware of their impact. The first tendency is rejecting our parents. The second tendency is when our early attachment to our mother was interrupted. The third tendency is merging ourselves with our parents' pain. And the final tendency is identifying ourselves with someone else in the family rather than with our parents. So, specifically, how are these four unconscious tendencies activated? Let's consider the following hypothetical scenario. First, a family tragedy occurs. The older brother of a 2-year-old child suddenly dies. The parents are overcome with immeasurable grief. Meanwhile, the younger child is too young to understand what is happening. This is a heartbreaking story, but for the surviving younger brother, this event can trigger one of the four unconscious tendencies mentioned above. For example, the first tendency, the child might reject their parents. Overwhelmed by grief, the child's parents might lose their will to live. They might start drinking to numb the pain or be frequently absent from home. When they are together, the pain they already couldn't bear becomes even more agonizing. They might blame themselves for contributing to their child's death, or deep down, they might blame each other. Whatever the case, the surviving child will sense the escalating intensity of emotions in their parents. Witnessing their parents' outbursts of rage, self-blame, and withdrawal, the child will feel as if their entire world has suddenly collapsed or been lost. The child will react by isolating themselves or putting on armor to protect themselves. Later, the child might blame their parents for the feelings of hurt or abandonment they experienced, rejecting their parents without considering the painful event that occurred or its impact on their parents. The second tendency is that the bond with the mother can be disrupted. The shock of the eldest child's sudden passing will undoubtedly leave the mother heartbroken, in pain, and despairing. She might disappear for weeks, even months, to grieve. This shatters the loving bond between her and her 2-year-old child. At this age, the child is unaware of why the mother no longer cares for them as before. All the child feels is that just a moment ago, their mother was shining her light on them, but the next moment, she turned that light off. Chemical compounds that warn of danger will be activated in the child's body, making them vigilant. At this point, the child might no longer trust their mother, fearing her inconsistent attitude, worrying that she might disappear from their life at any moment. The third tendency is that the child might merge their pain with that of their father or mother. When their brother dies, the child will experience the heavy burden of their parents' pain as if it were their own. The pain accumulates over the years. The child seems to want to say to their parents, "Mom and Dad, if I could share this pain, or if I could take it on for you both, perhaps you would feel better." Children who share their parents' pain often do so unconsciously. This unconscious reaction stems from a blind belief that the child can save their parents, harboring an instinctive loyalty to them. Children often relive their parents' grief and experience their misfortunes. These loyalties can later be passed down to subsequent generations, turning a family legacy into a legacy of unhappiness. The final tendency is that the child might identify with the deceased brother. When a child dies, the pain of loss engulfs the entire home. But waves of unbearable pain block all expressions of vitality and happiness in the family. Family members, wanting to escape the pain and meaninglessness of death, avoid thinking about the lost child or even mentioning their name. In this way, the deceased child is excluded from the family, creating fertile ground for the process of unconscious identification to take root and flourish. The surviving child might even unconsciously tiptoe past their parents, trying not to disturb them, feeling ignored and unseen by everyone in the house, or feeling unimportant and unworthy of attention. By unconsciously identifying with the dead brother, the surviving child might feel their joy for life eroding and their vital energy restricted. The child will bind themselves to the deceased brother in silent empathy, as if wanting to say, "Because you couldn't live, I won't live my life fully either." Once we clearly understand these tendencies and know how to recognize them, we can identify which tendency is being activated within us and preventing us from living a full life. The example above and the experiences mentioned are not uncommon in everyday life. Many of us are unconsciously living in empathy with family members who have experienced severe trauma. But when steeped in sorrow, we must ask ourselves if we are truly living with our own emotions or someone else's. Once we realize that we are carrying thoughts, feelings, sensations, behaviors, or symptoms that did not originate from ourselves, we can break that cycle. To begin, we must take a conscious action to acknowledge the traumatic event that occurred and the people involved. Often, this begins with an inner monologue or a conversation with a family member, either directly or through visualization techniques. In Alex's case, the young man suffering from insomnia since age 19, the psychologist asked him to visualize his uncle standing before him and encouraged him to speak directly to him. He could whisper in his heart if he wished, "Uncle, since I turned 19, every night my whole body trembles and I struggle so much to sleep." His breathing became shallow, then he began to sob, his eyelids trembled, and a tear welled up from the corner of his eye. "Uncle, from tonight onwards, you will live in my heart, not in the insomnia I suffer from." Tears flowed as Alex spoke those words. Then he slowly listened and imagined his uncle telling him to breathe out and return the fear to him. "This insomnia doesn't belong to you. This pain doesn't belong to you. It never did." After just one conversation with his uncle, whom he had never known before, Alex began to calm down. As he exhaled, his jaw relaxed and his shoulders dropped. His eyes regained their vitality. Deep inside him, something had found rest. Although he only imagined this conversation with his uncle, brain research shows that Alex had activated neural pathways during that time. After that therapy session, Alex reported to the psychologist that he had been able to sleep soundly through the night. There are other examples of healing phrases listed in this book. For instance, "Mom and Dad, instead of reliving what happened to you, I will live my life fully. I will always keep you in my heart. I will light a candle for you and honor your memory by living a life full of love." As you create your own healing phrases, you will notice a new inner experience beginning to take root within you in the form of an image or a feeling. These experiences and images can be deepened through certain rituals and practices. Here are a few activities that can help support your healing process. First, try placing a picture of a loved one with whom you wish to reconcile on your desk or bedside table and talk to them. Second, light a candle. A woman lost her father when she was young, so she had no memories of him. She became distant from her husband at age 29, the age her father passed away. She unconsciously shared her father's feeling of disconnection from his family. For 2 months, she lit a candle every night, then imagined the flame opening a path for her and her father to reunite. She would talk to her father and feel a sense of calm from his presence. By the end of the ritual, her feeling of disconnection faded, and a new feeling of being loved and cared for by her father began to spread within her. The third way might be writing a letter. A man abruptly left his college fiancée, and for 20 years since, he had struggled in romantic relationships. He knew that fiancée had died just a year after he left her. Although he knew she would never receive the letter, he still wrote to her, apologizing for what he had done. After writing the letter, the man experienced a sense of peace and wholeness that he couldn't explain. And the final way is to set boundaries. A woman whose mother was an alcoholic had always lived with the burden of being responsible for her mother's health and happiness. This pattern of caring for others continued into her adulthood, and at this point, she began to have difficulty receiving care from others in romantic relationships. She always felt she was responsible for her partner's emotions while also feeling suffocated by their needs. To heal herself, she performed the following ritual every day. She would sit in the middle of the floor, use a string to draw a circle around herself. She realized that by creating a space just for herself, she could breathe more easily. In an inner dialogue, she said to her mother, "Mom, this is my own space. You are there and I am here. When I was little, I did everything I could to make you happy, but that was too much for me. Now, I always feel obligated to make others happy, and this feeling suffocates me every time I get close to someone. From now on, your feelings will be over there with you, and my feelings will be here with me. Inside this boundary, I value my own feelings so that I don't lose myself every time I get close to someone else again." According to research, these practices can change our brains by creating new neural pathways. Not only that, when we visualize a healing image, we activate brain regions associated with happiness and positive emotions, especially the left prefrontal cortex. It is crucial that we practice living with these new emotions and feelings so that they become deeply ingrained in our consciousness. The more we practice, the more we engrave what we learn, allowing our brains to change. Look deep into your palm, and you will see your parents and all your ancestors. All of them are living in this moment. Each of them is present in your body. You are a continuation of each one of them, and this pain does not belong to you. This book is truly a useful new method that can help illuminate an obscure past. When the root of pain is brought to light, repetitive patterns can be resolved, thereby opening new paths and new possibilities for each person's life. Try placing your hands on your body where those old sensations once arose, where the ancient pain still gnaws. Then, breathe deeply and let your breath extend within you. As you do so, ask yourself if you can feel something new inside your body in that very moment. Each time you inhale, let beautiful emotions spread throughout your body. Each time you exhale, let all remnants of past fear dissipate into nothingness. What pain do you carry from the past? Try these methods. I hope you will feel lighter or more at peace when you look back at the fears you wrote about in earlier chapters of your life. Then you will realize the greatest secret we find on this journey. A great love has always been there, waiting for you to discover it. It is a love passed down from previous generations, a love that is urging you to live your life fully without repeating the fears and misfortunes of the past. That love is profoundly deep. It is a silent love that lives on through time, connecting you with everyone and everything. That love is truly the most powerful healing remedy. May this book and these thought-provoking lessons help to unravel the complexities within you. May you soon find your way back to the source. May the pains from the past find their rest.